Hello everyone, welcome back to mahafarkar.co.in. Let's start today's article. Before learning today's article, in some previous articles, we have learned about the properties of fluid, but when it is at rest. And we call that particular property as what? Hydrostatic. So, the properties of fluid with rest are called as what? Hydrostatic. We have learned two very important properties of fluid and all the concept related to that. The first is the pressure. The formula for pressure we have derived already in terms of liquid is forming a column. So pressure due to fluid column and all other things we have already derived. Then in a second part we have learned about the important property of liquid, that is called surface tension. When liquid is at rest, the free surface of liquid is trying to stretch all the molecules on the upper surface to the downward direction. Because of that, the free surface of liquid behave as a stretch membrane. And we have found out lots of things regarding the surface tension, difference energy relation between surface tension and surface energy. We have found out the formula for drops and formation of bubbles. We have found out formula for capillary when it is rise of capillary when it is dipped in the liquid of certain surface tension. Now here we are going to learn about the important part, that is flow of liquid, flow of fluid. So the branch of physics in which we are going to deal about the flow of fluid is called hydrodynamics. It is called as what? Hydrodynamics. The branch of physics which deals with branch of physics which deals with motion of fluids or fluids in a motion is called as what? Hydrodynamics. Now we have seen flow of fluid in a different scenarios. Like suppose there is a flow of liquid in the pipe, thin and uniform pipe is there. How the liquid can flow? If you imagine that pipe is completely transparent through which the water is flowing, then you can easily judge what is exactly happening inside that. If you have seen the flow of silent pond of water over very plain and horizontal surface, but when that same water falls from certain height, becomes very irregular, the flow becomes very irregular. So that type of structure we are going to define. Before that, suppose I am having a tube, some imaginary pipe is there, and through which the different layers of liquid are flowing from end A to end B. They are flowing from end A to end B. Okay. So when it is flowing, they are following certain parameters, certain paths. So the first term here that we want to define, we are going to discuss is the flow path. Suppose this is the first particle. It travels, started from point A and reached to point B, and it has traveled this path, whatever the path is there. So the path actually traveled by a single particle is called as what? Flow path. The path of individual particle during its motion, particle of fluid during its motion is called as what? Flow path. Okay. Second is the streamline. Second is what? The streamline. So what is streamline? If suppose this is the curve, and if I want to study what is the direction of motion at this point, so I will draw the tangent. This tangent drawn to the flow path for that given individual particle, then that is called as what? Streamline. Okay. And then third is flow tube. Streamline is what? Tangent drawn to any point on curve or flow path is called as what? The streamline. And the third is flow tube. The third is what? Flow tube. What is the flow tube? Now here I can say this imaginary pipe is nothing but the flow tube. The imaginary region through which the flow of liquid is going to take place is called as what? Flow tube. So it may be rectangular, whatever the shape is there, that tube is called as what? Flow tube. So it is the imaginary region through which flow of liquid is flowing, or flow of liquid is takes place. This is called as what? Flow path or flow tube. Okay, so when we discuss, now we are going to distinguish one of the very important types of the flow. When we have studied the flow, I said that just imagine the water is flowing inside the pipe. Inside the pipe, from end A of the pipe to the end B of the pipe. It is flowing with certain fixed parameter, but as soon as it comes through the open end of the pipe, it doesn't follow all those parameters. Some parameters of that flow are changed. On that basis, we are going to discuss there are two types of flows. We are going to discuss there are two types of flows. Types of flow of fluid. Here I will call only liquid. Okay. There are two types of the flow. The first is streamline flow. And the second is turbulent flow. Streamline flow and turbulent flow. Just imagine I have wide surface, very wide surface, like suppose I am having say river water flowing from this end to this end like this. Okay, this is a river water flowing from point P to point Q. Now this is the first layer of liquid, this is second layer, third layer, fourth layer, fifth layer. Say first layer of liquid is traveling with velocity v1. It starts from point P, reach to point Q, and its velocities remain what? v1, means velocity of that individual layer. Velocity of individual layer is constant, isn't it? Velocity of individual layer is what? Constant. So same for that third layer, say its velocity is v3. So start from this point, flows here and reach to what? This point Q. Then the velocity of individual layer is constant and all the layers are appear like parallel to each other. They are appear like what? Parallel. For example, if I draw tangent to this point, that tangent will be like that, tangent to this point will be like that. So these tangents, that means which line? Streamline. If I draw, then that streamline will be appear what? Parallel to each other. Then this type of flow of liquid is called as what? Streamline flow. So flow of liquid in which velocity of individual layer is always constant throughout the flow is called as which flow? Streamline flow. Okay, it is also called as laminar flow. They are like separate layers, one layer flowing, second layer below that, third layer below that. They are appearing like proper layers. Okay, so all the streamlines appear parallel to each other, This type of flow is called as what? Streamline flow. Important factor, no two streamlines will intersect each other. They are not going to. So if this is the first streamline, this is the second, and if this is the third, then there is very less scope of intersection of these lines as they are what? Parallel to each other. Such type of flow is called as what? Streamline flow. It is very smooth flow of fluid or liquid below certain velocity. That certain velocity is called as critical velocity. Called as which velocity? Critical velocity. So in short, if I want to define the flow of liquid which is flowing with the velocity less than critical velocity, then it is called as which flow? Streamline flow. Okay. So now what is turbulent flow? So what are the examples of streamline flow? Water flowing on the silent pond, in the silent river, water flowing in the pipe. These are some examples of which flow? Streamline flow. Now, if I want to study the turbulent flow, just imagine after this point Q, suddenly the surface is over and this is on the peak of the mountain. Then what will happen? There is no path ahead to flow that liquid, so water will be fall down here. While falling, these layers will not obey the rules what they have obeyed from point P to Q. They will be now appear completely irregular. Some layers will be fall with very high velocity, some will be falling with lower velocity. So their velocities will get interrupted, disrupted. So the flow of liquid in which velocity of individual layer, I am writing on short, do not remains constant, then is called as which flow? The turbulent flow. Okay. So all the streamline do not remain parallel. They do not appear parallel to each other. Here the streamline can intersect. The streamlines can what? Intersect, and it is, instead of smooth flow, I will call what? Irregular flow. Irregular flow of liquid with velocity greater than with speed greater than critical speed. Critical speed is called as which one? Turbulent flow. Water falling from the waterfall, what you enjoy in the rainy season. Then water which is coming through, if the pipe is leaked and if water is coming through that, then it becomes which flow? Turbulent flow. So this is what we are going to learn ahead in this next article, hydrodynamics, in which we are going to deal with the physics related to motion of fluid. When we discuss the motion of fluid, these three important terms to be discussed: flow path. If single particle, the path which is followed by single particle of fluid during its entire journey, called as flow path. The tangent drawn to the any point on that path will be called as what? Streamline. Whereas the flow tube is the imaginary tube through which the liquid is flowing from one place to another place. Then types of flow of liquid. There are two types of liquid flow. The first flow is called streamline or laminar flow. The second flow is called as turbulent flow. If velocity of layer which is flowing, velocity of layer of liquid flowing from one place to another place is constant throughout, not for all layer is same. Means I don't want to say that velocity of all the layer is same. Velocity of all the layers is different. But velocity of first layer is suppose V1, then it will remain V1 and very small portion will be changed when it will reach to Q, then that flow. Velocity of last layer is say suppose V5, then while traveling from here to here, it will almost remain V5. Very small negligible changes will be takes place in the velocity, then that type of flow is called as which flow? Streamline flow. So all the streamlines are appear parallel in the streamline. No two streamline, if they are in parallel, they will not intersect. Smooth flow of liquid below certain velocity is called critical velocity is called as a streamline flow. Okay. The turbulent flow. The flow of liquid in which velocity of individual layer do not remain constant is called as which flow? Turbulent flow. Lines do not appear parallel. Lines do not appear what? Parallel to each other. No here streamlines are going to intersect. Whereas irregular flow of fluid or liquid in which velocity of all the layers is greater than certain velocity called as critical velocity, then we are going to call it is turbulent flow. Examples are large number present in our routine. I hope you understood this article. Thanks for watching mahasarkar.co.in. Have a nice day.